first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for saying no thanks when my parents told me my birthday gift is picking out a car / getting a car? So, I am 17 years old, and I got my license about a year ago by now. I didn't get it because I needed or wanted to drive anywhere. We live in the middle of town. My school is a 2-minute walk, job a 5-minute walk. Most of my hobbies like the gym are within 10 minutes, and almost all my friends live within a 20-minute walking distance. I only got it because it is good to have, if that makes sense. You know, emergencies and when I move out and get a job, so need my own car. My parents have been asking me when I am buying a car all year long. They anticipated I would buy one, so I could take over duties like driving my siblings places, picking them up from school. They go to a fancy primary school 45 minutes outside of town, and do stuff like pick up food, you know the deal. Honestly, it has all just made me not want a car even more. The prospect of walking out of school and instead of doing homework, hanging with friends, going to work, etc. I get to drive 45 minutes to pick up my siblings and spend 45 minutes driving home with them screaming in my ears, and follow that up by taking them to practice. No, thank you. So, I turned 17 a month ago, and I didn't get anything apart from the promise of a big surprise from my parents. I figured they must be broke because of everything going on, so I obviously didn't make a big deal out of it. I was wrong. They had been putting money aside all year to let me pick out a car, and today they revealed it to me. And I just said, mostly out of shock, no thanks. I'd rather just get a new monitor or something. Dad absolutely lost his crap, calling me ungrateful, and Mom just seemed extremely disappointed. I get most guys my age dream about getting a car, especially a brand new one, but for me it's just not worth it at all. Getting a car is pretty worthless to me, and just means getting a crap ton of extra chores, so I'd end up having even less free time, and I already barely have any. Am I being the a-hole here? Sure feels like I am. Now for the top comments. It's a trap. Well done. You've Assassin's Creeded your way around a trap. My suggestion? First of all, be grateful that they are doing this for you. But tell them that you want to wait to get a car until college because you aren't ready yet and want to focus on school right now. Basically, defer the gift. Accept it, but defer it for later. Straight up finessing that dish. My parents gave me their old car for my 17th birthday. I was expected to drive my siblings to their activities and drive them to their friends' houses or to the movies, etc. However, I was only allowed to drive the car for my own enjoyment twice per week, and I wasn't allowed to drive the car to school. I was basically the live-in chauffeur for their kids. As an added bonus, whenever my parents were mad at me, they'd threaten to take the car away, but only for the 2 days a week I was allowed to drive it, not for the chauffeuring of my siblings. I eventually just handed my dad back the keys and told them I didn't want the car anymore as it wasn't worth it. They were quite shocked, and then they got upset when they realized I wasn't bluffing. Wow, at least my parents want to give me a new car. You get the old rooster and the crap. But yeah, I'm pretty sure the sibling chauffeur thing is but the start. Not the a-hole, but you need to talk this over with your parents. It seems like they want you to take on more chores for them, and you should discuss whether that is right or fair. They're a-holes for overreacting to your polite refusal. It's about more than just a gift for you. It means increased unwanted family contributions. I don't think there is any way I can bring it to them without it being framed like I don't appreciate them or hate my siblings or something. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not being interested in part of my ethnic background? So, I'm half Chinese and Korean and was raised solely by my mom. My parents were college sweethearts, but when my mom got pregnant, my dad's family was furious because they expected him to eventually end up with a Korean girl. Their ultimatum was to give up his girlfriend or his family, and you can probably guess who he chose. Nonetheless, I did grow up spending the occasional weekend with him, so I wouldn't say our relationship was entirely bad. Unfortunately, my dad passed away about 2 years ago. It was unexpected and sudden. His passing took a huge toll on his family, with his mom taking it the hardest. She's been trying really hard to establish a relationship with me ever since. My dad didn't have any other children, so I guess it's understandable. I was initially okay with spending time with them, but they've been really aggressive with forcing Korean culture on me. I've been dragged to church by them a few times. My aunts have tried pressuring me into taking Korean classes. It's gotten to a point where I've started to ignore their calls, and they're now contacting my mom to try to get a hold of me. Yes, even during a damn pandemic. And the fact that they don't like the Chinese part of me doesn't help. Every compliment is backhanded. My good work ethic is because I'm Korean. My intelligence is because I'm Korean, and my dad's mom loves to talk about how pretty I am and how I obviously get it from my dad because my features don't exist for Chinese, despite me being the literal spitting image of my mom. The only real reason why I agreed to spend time with my dad's family is because I felt obligated to. I'm not interested in Korean culture, and I don't feel Korean at all. They've reminded me countless times that it's important to learn about my heritage and whatnot. But why? I think if everyone looks far back enough, we'll all probably find a different ethnic root. That doesn't mean that it'll hold any real value for us. My ethnic background is just my ethnic background. My mom and grandparents think I should be open to it. They acknowledge that how my dad/his family treated my mom was crappy, but ultimately, my relationship with them is separate from their relationship with them. Still, at the end of the day, my mom's culture is what I grew up with and identify with. I can speak Chinese dialects. I accompany my grandparents to temples. I love Chinese food. I'm more Chinese than I ever will be Korean. I genuinely don't think there's anything wrong with not wanting to immerse myself into a culture that holds no real importance for me. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I have said it before, and I'll say it again. Your feelings can never make you an a-hole. It is your actions that can make you an a-hole. You don't seem to have done anything terribly bad, and your Korean family does seem to be quite annoying. I am going not the a-hole on this one. You are not to blame. They're pushing you away by pressuring you into doing things you don't want. I kind of think, am I the a-hole questions that are just about emotions should be pulled. Not that this person doesn't have a real issue. Their writing was very compelling, and I enjoyed reading it. But there's no conflict. As you pointed out, you can't be an a-hole for an emotion. Not the a-hole. They hated your mom's heritage from the beginning of time and are trying to have a fully Korean grandchild instead of a mixed one. If you are, just cut them off. They aren't trying to include you. They're just trying to completely change you and don't want to accept the Chinese part of you. The ironic part is that they're entirely to blame for OP not feeling Korean. Not the a-hole. As you said, roots do not define you. You were raised by half of your ethnic heritage. The other half is just kinda there for you. If your Korean family was trying to incorporate Korean heritage with your Chinese heritage when you identify as such, not diminish one for the other, this would be a completely different story. It's strange, because I've always felt that both cultures share a lot of ideals and customs. I haven't spent nearly as much time with my dad's side as I have with my mom's, yet I can still draw many similarities in their values. It just makes it more off-putting, how they're so insistent on me having to learn about Korean culture. They apparently think I'm great, so I don't understand why it's so important to have me embrace a culture that has had no influence on how I turned out and diminish the value of the one culture that did influence my development. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my dad's wife I'm not her kid? My, 19 female, mom died 7 years ago. My dad remarried 8 months ago. She's an alright person, but a little weird. Even before she married my dad, she was calling me and my siblings her/their kids. My siblings are younger, so I kinda get it there. But me? I have never lived with her. I live in an apartment with friends, and we have been around each other maybe 11 times since our first introduction, which was when I had already moved out. Ever since she moved in, she has asked why I don't move back closer to home, so we can be a real family. So, a few weeks ago, my dad, his wife, and my siblings paid me a visit, and while they were here, she was talking about how proud she and my dad are of their daughter, and she called me her daughter multiple times. I said nothing to her in front of people, but when someone asked about my mom, I said, oh, my stepmother, just because I wasn't going to call her my mom. But I didn't make a big deal out of it, and I was not angry. She got upset and confronted me on it back at my place. I told her I didn't really know her. I didn't like her calling me her daughter. My dad stepped in and said it was harmless, but said if I didn't like it, he understood and maybe we could figure something else out. She said I am her kid now and she doesn't want me to feel left out. I told her I wouldn't. She said it would make me feel left out eventually. I told her I'm not some little kid and she didn't raise me. I have a mom and dad and I am not accepting another mother. She said it was unfair, that I had an issue with it because she's only trying to be a good mom to all of us. She also said my lack of calling her mom and accepting her into the motherly role has negatively impacted her bonding with my siblings. I told her I'm not home for it to influence them much. She's still upset and said I should be glad she wants me to be her kid, but I find it weird to be called someone's daughter when I hardly know them and when they did not raise me in any way. I also dislike that she introduces me as her daughter. Stepdaughter would have been fine. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You're not the a-hole for having and enforcing this boundary. She isn't your mom, and frankly, it's a little weird that she's insisting on it. If it is harmless as your dad put it, why would it matter if she just called you her stepdaughter? Not the a-hole. Honestly, I think it is pretty generous of you to call her your stepmother. She is barely that. She is more like your father's wife, not the a-hole. Well, that was more to keep the peace, honestly. I call her my dad's wife otherwise, and might not use stepmom/stepmother if she decides she's going to make it a huge deal. That makes sense. That's why I thought it was already generous on your part. Haha. To be fair, she isn't doing it to be controlling. I think she genuinely wants to be a part of your life, but it isn't fair for her to attempt to force that. I do agree. It's just the way she reacted to my trying to set a boundary that has me feeling like, I'm not sure we'll get along too good if this is always going to be a thing. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to help out my brother and his family when they're in need? My 28 female brother, 33 male, and his wife, 32 female, and their kids, 9 female, 7 male, and 5 male, ended up homeless 6 weeks ago after a lot of bad luck. They're currently staying with my parents while they're working things out. Everyone expected me to help out in some way, but I have not, and I do not plan to. The reason is, last year, my brother and I had a fight. I was away on vacation. My brother was looking for something in my home. I told him it was okay to get it while I was gone. He did more than that. He stayed in my house long enough for his kids to write and draw on my wall, pull up some of my carpet, break my couch, stuff my toilet with paper, and left me with it overflowing. Broke the shelf in my closet by climbing on it, from the looks of what I saw. Snooped through my room and threw my possessions around the place, and plug out my freezer. They also pulled up some of the flowers I had in my yard. Oh, and I found some stains in places and I never figured out what they were. But some things had to be replaced. My brother and the kids were the only people in my home when I was gone. I did not do it. But my brother denied it was them, and he has refused to pay me back ever since. I felt like that was a huge betrayal of my trust and a huge sign of disrespect. He never asked to pay it back in installments. He didn't offer to help clean it up, said no when I asked if he was going to. His wife then calls me and claims I did it to my own house and set them up with it because I don't like my niece and nephews, which is not true. I have always loved them, but their behavior in the last couple of years has been less than amazing. Not that it's their fault or anything, but I feel like after everything, I don't owe them anything. I had to pay for all repairs and replacements and new paint job. They never once offered me anything. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your brother tries to gaslight you into thinking that you caused the damage. And his kids drew on your walls and wrecked your home. Wow. And he doubles down without an apology. The nerve of your brother. I know, right? Also, if that's how they treat your house, I wouldn't want to help them and let them stay with you, or financially assist them. You already spent money on their mistakes. Don't make it a habit, and don't let them take advantage of you. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. It is not your job to take care of them. Plus, it looks like they have a problem with taking responsibility for their actions. He said that he needed one thing from your house, and then lets his kids wreck your house and refuse to come clean about it. I think it's absurd how often people suggest getting police involved here, but I would have definitely said, cool, if it wasn't you all, I guess someone broke in and I'll need to call the police. Too late now though. Not the a-hole, for all the reasons you listed. It's not about the money, it's about not owning up to the damage it caused your home. They can't afford to pay you now, but I'm sure you'd appreciate a heartfelt apology. Even if they thought that they were in the right, they could have still apologized for the damage. In my opinion, the money matters. It's part of what makes the apology real. If someone apologizes, but doesn't make any effort to right their wrong, it can feel a bit hollow. Don't get me wrong, an apology is better than nothing. But sometimes people use words because words are cheap and actions are dear. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.